Hi there guys, and welcome back to Tech Radar. My name's Matt Phillips, and something that I've been working on over the past 6 months or so at Tech Radar is getting our videos sounding better. And a massive part of that, obviously, is the mic you choose to use. I was chatting about this with the guys in the office about a week ago, and our senior computing editor, Matt Hansen, turns around to me and he says, "You know what, I have a whole bunch of microphones sat in a closet somewhere that I just haven't got round to reviewing." So when I was done pulling out my hair, I stole all those microphones off him, and I'm going to put them through their paces today to see really which microphone would suit me and my needs best for the job that I need to do here at Tech Radar. Now obviously the microphone that I end up picking at the end of today's video might not be the same microphone that would suit you best, but I'll take you through all these microphones in depth. You can make up your own mind on which you think sounds best and which features would suit you best for your needs. So far, I've been recording this entire intro on this microphone right here, which is the Yeti Blackout. You can't see it too well because of our little VO booth setup here, but you can make your own decision on how you think the audio sounds from this. I'm going to reserve judgment on audio quality until I've gone through and edited the video, just so I can get a real feel for what the sort of end product of this audio would sound like. But I will come back at the end and tell you which microphone that I've picked going forward and why. The Yeti Blackout microphone that we're using retails at about £120, currently available on Amazon, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other places as well. And I'm first going to test all the microphones today in this kind of VO studio. It's by no means the most perfect voiceover booth in the world, but it is the best setting we have here, so I'm giving these microphones the best chance sort of out of the box, out of the gate today. I'm going to take them then into our second studio, which is much more like kind of your typical bedroom setup. You know, if you're looking to start streaming on Twitch or something like that, then that kind of setting might suit you better. But this gives you an idea of sort of the most perfect condition that we can build here and how these microphones are going to sound. One thing I do want to mention about the Yeti Blackout that I'm using currently is I really love the design of this microphone. It's kind of built on this sort of pivot hinge, which is super useful, so I can really alter the sort of direction that microphone is sitting in, which I think is going to be huge. A couple of the other microphones we're using later don't have that feature, and it's something I'm a little bit concerned about. But we'll talk about that when we get to those next microphones, and without further ado, let's head over to our second microphone, shall we? So here we are now with our second microphone. This is and it has a weird name, so bear with me. It's the Trust Gaming GXT 258 FYRU USB microphone. Just, yeah, you lose points for a terrible name. No, seriously, I really like this microphone. I have high hopes for this microphone. I hope it does well for a feature that I will tell you about when we're doing our second set of tests. But it's around £119 currently on Amazon, so I think it is the same price point to the Yeti Blackout. So it'll be interesting to see how this one compares. One thing that I do have a slight concern about with this microphone is that it's not as customizable. Like I said, one of the things I liked about the Yeti was that you could sort of pivot that joint and get that Yeti placed exactly how you want it. This doesn't really have that. This microphone's kind of on this tripod base. You can adjust one of the legs on that tripod, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference at all. So this microphone is very small, very compact, which, you know, has some plus points for me when I travel back and forth London. Something this small, something this light would be very useful to take along with me. But I am slightly concerned with that sort of inability to sort of customize the way that it's pitched here. One thing I should say is that all of these microphones have been blown away with how easy they are to use. This one has sort of USB-C to USB cable that obviously comes in the box. The Yeti mini USB to USB-C. A couple of the others I think are mini USB to USB-C, but all those cables come in the box and they are plug and play. They sort of are powered by your machine, whatever you've got recording. Yeah, without further ado, let's move on to our third microphone. So this is our third microphone that we're testing today. It's the Razer Siren Emote. It's actually our most expensive microphone, kind of, and I'll explain what I mean by that when we get to our last microphone of the day. But yeah, it is our most expensive microphone, coming in at about £150 on Amazon currently. Obviously, Razer very well known for their gaming hardware, and this is no different. Definitely targeted at the Twitch streamer demographic, but I'll show you that specific feature hopefully in our next test. I've been trying to get it to work right now, haven't been able to, but I'll spend some more time with it this afternoon and try and get that feature working for you. Something I have been talking about a lot in this sort of initial test is the design of the microphones, and I really love the Razer design. You know, I've been talking a lot about how you can sort of pivot these microphones, get them in the right position for you, and Razer's really done a great job. So they've packaged two kind of stands. This is the short shorter stand, and I've got the microphone currently on the longer gooseneck stand that really allows you to pivot into the place you want. But the base unit for this also has a ball joint in it, so even if you're using this shorter stand, you can sort of still pivot it into the place that you want it to be, which is really, really useful and something I really like. So I'm really interested to see how this stacks up against the Yeti. It's a much smaller, much lighter microphone than the previous two that I've used, so that's obviously attracting it to me because, when I travel with this job, small and light is what I'm looking to put in my kit bag. So super interested to see how this one will perform, super interested to see if I can get that feature working for our next set of tests and show it off to you guys. But yeah, I think this could be quite the competitor. So here we are with our fourth and final mic for today's testing. This is the MXL 990 Blaze, and as you can see, it's set up quite differently to the rest of the microphones, and I'll chat about why that is in a second. So this is technically our cheapest microphone. The microphone itself is about £80 currently on Amazon. However, it's slightly different to the other microphones we've used so far in that it's an XLR input. XLR inputs are kind of common industry standard for video production and audio production as well, and so that XLR input might actually be a feature that some of you might want. For example, if you want to put this microphone straight into your camera, then that XLR input is going to be very useful for you. MXL though did send over this, which is an XLR to micro USB preamp adapter. It is another £80 though, so that already takes this kind of setup up to £160, putting it at the top of our price range for stuff we've looked at so far. Interestingly though, it's not just a converter, right? You do have gain, you do have headphone input into this, so it is definitely useful in that sense. The arm that this is attached to is the only way that I could sort of set this up with the stuff that MXL sent over. This arm was also sent over by MXL and is another £80. So if you wanted to get this whole setup, it would be £240, putting it way at the top end of the stuff we've looked at today. So you could say that this is cheating a little bit with all this sort of extra accessories, but you could use this arm with other microphones. You could use it with any of the other microphones that we've looked at today, in fact, although this XLR input that runs through the stand would be completely useless. One other thing I probably should mention about this microphone is it is considerably heavier than the Razer and the Trust gaming one. Those two are very light, very compact. This and the Yeti are actually very heavy in and of themselves. Therefore, they feel like they're better build quality wise. They're probably a bit more sturdy. I would be concerned about sort of throwing the Razer and the Trust gaming one into a kit bag and kind of forgetting about it. So I would feel safer from that point of view with this one and the Yeti, although the other two sort of have that lighter quality that makes them more appealing in that way. So, it's a balance that you've got to hit with these. But the build quality of this one in particular does feel really nice. So I'm really interested to see how this one will turn out. But first, let's head over to the second studio where we're going to run all these microphones again. Again, the reason I want to do it over there is it's slightly less well soundproofed, probably slightly more comparable to a typical sort of bedroom setup, a typical one-man operation setup. So it'll be interesting to see how it performs in those areas, and I want to test out a few of the kind of more unique features that each of these microphones have over there. Okay, so here we are now. We're back with the Trust Gaming GXT258FYRU USB microphone. And the reason, yeah, wow, indeed. The reason I wanted to come into the second studio and test this is because of one of these features that I alluded to that I really like, these lights on top that tell you exactly where this microphone is pointing, where exactly this microphone is looking for audio from. And we can set it up so that it's looking at me and Matt Hansen, who I dragged down. So theoretically now this is picking up audio from us both. Yeah. And I again, these tests are as much for me as they are for anybody watching. I want to see if this is a realistic way to record a podcast.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And so you press that, so ideally you can actually have 4 as a maximum, can you?
Yeah, exactly. So if I do hit that, now it's doing this way, so that's going to sound terrible. Yeah. But now it's doing all 4 directions. Okay. I have no idea how that would sound.
No, because it doesn't and how does it work? Like they're not like, there's no moving parts?
No, there's no moving parts at all. I think it's just the way that microphone's configured. A lot of microphones, I'm going to switch this back now to both of us now. Okay, cool. But just so we get some nice audio from you, why don't you tell us what article I just dragged you away from to bring you down here and test microphones with me?
Well, the article I'm still working on our best laptop guide and just trying to give people buying advice on the latest and greatest laptops. But I'm really interested to see how these work because we've had them in for a while and I've been thinking of ways to give them a proper test.
Yeah.
And this seems like a perfect way of doing it, because you've got the experience of, looking for high quality microphones.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm excited to see how this one does. This feature I really love, because if I'm running between shoots or running, around trying to get quick audio, for me to be able to really clearly and easily see exactly where this is looking for audio from, is sort of a real benefit. The one with the Yeti, which we'll have a look at in a minute, it's not exactly clear where it's trying to grab the audio from. So so I really like this feature. One thing I don't like about it, and I talked to them about it before, is that it's kind of stationary of how it's pinned in. You can't really alter this in any way to
and you can't remove that or put it.
You can remove that. You could put it on an entirely different stand.
Okay.
But this is the one that it sort of comes with as a package sort of thing. So yeah, interested to see how this will sound, but we'll switch over now to the Yeti and see how that one sounds.
Cool.
Okay, so now here we are back with the Yeti blackout microphone again, doing that figure of 8 picking up pattern. So I'm going to see how this one sounds. Tell us about another article you wrote this week that did really well, Matt.
Oh, well, gosh. Windows 10, everything about Windows 10 at the moment, because it seems to be falling apart a bit. There's been a few dodgy updates.
Yeah.
So I've been writing a lot about that, which seems to be doing well. So this is a nice break from writing about...
Sorry to drag you away from it all.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, this is the microphone that we've been using quite a lot lately. Obviously, the build quality on this is really nice, and it's sort of really well put together. And this is kind of, I think, our benchmarking one. This is one we've been using in the studio next door for quite a while. So it'd be really interesting to see how the others compare to this. None of the other microphones that I've tested and shown you guys have this kind of double recording feature, so I'm not going to test them because I don't think that's particularly fair.
Yeah.
They do have some cool features, though, that I will show you in this room, and it'll give you an idea of what they sound like in this kind of more open, less soundproofed room. Excited. Thanks for joining me, Matt. Appreciate your help.
Thanks for having me here.
So here we are now back with the Razer Siren Emote microphone. I didn't want to put it through the same test with Matt because it doesn't offer that feature of kind of recording both ways. It's not designed for that. This is a single person use microphone design. But one thing it does have that the other microphones don't is this neat little feature. As you can see, the little fire going on the back of my microphone now. And what this will do is you can set this up so that when you're streaming on Twitch, if that's something you want to do, different emoticons will play based on different things that are happening to you during your Twitch stream. So for example, if somebody follows you, I've set up a little custom Tech Radar logo to pop up if somebody was to follow us on Twitch. I think that's really cool. There are a couple other ones you can do as well. I can't remember how I set these up now. A little rainbow flag there. What does this one do? Let's see. Test that one. Just back to the fire emoji, I guess. This one thing I would say about this is it wasn't the easiest thing in the world to set up. I had to download 2 different pieces of Razer software, and it wasn't massively user-friendly. I don't know why it's not simpler, but it is a feature that I could see would be attractive to a lot of people. This is something that might differentiate you from all the other people on Twitch if this is sort of an extra way you can sort of interact with your Twitch chat. You could set this up so that different things play on it when somebody cheers or somebody gives you bits or whatever it is on Twitch nowadays. So a really interesting feature, something I wanted to try out and show you guys because I think it is a huge selling point of this microphone, but also a chance for me to try in this kind of more open setting. Like I said, this setting that we're in now is more typical to your sort of one-man bedroom operation setup. So if you're starting streaming, this microphone might have sort of caught your eye. Razer, obviously a big video game brand and the like. So a really interesting microphone, a really interesting sort of way to differentiate itself in this market of, plentiful microphones for streaming and podcasting. One thing I did want to mention about this before I sign off from the Razer is that this software that allows you to do these sort of emoticons here, that's only available on Windows. So something definitely to keep in mind. I use a MacBook that's just sat over there now. So obviously that's not ideal if you're a Mac user, then definitely don't go for this because you're not getting the benefit of that extra feature. But something to keep in mind. I'm interested to see how this microphone compares to the others sound quality wise. Are you paying a lot for this little feature here? And if so, maybe it's not worth it to you. I don't know. But something I thought I should show you nevertheless. So here we are now back with the MXL 990 Blaze, and one downside to this microphone you could say is now that this kind of shot here feels a little bit awkward, right, with the microphone right in front of me and the arm in front of me. I could rearrange it a little bit perhaps to get a better shot here, but this is kind of something I wanted to demonstrate. With all this extra kit does come a bit of hassle. Now, of course, we could set this up in such a way, bring the camera forward so you wouldn't see any of this, but I wanted you to get an idea of how big all this equipment was as well. Again, to reiterate, this is the cheapest of the microphones, just the microphone section itself, so it'll be really interesting to see how this stacks up against the others, especially in this, our kind of more open room, less well soundproofed room. Really excited to see how this does. It's called the MXL 990 Blaze for a reason. It's because of this little red light in here, which you can't see at all. So I'm going to go turn off a couple of lights and see if you'll be able to see it. I don't know why that would be a selling point for anybody, but let's try it out and see what it looks like. So there we go. Now it's dark, and you can very faintly see this red light that's going on in here. Up close, it looks kind of cool, but again, I don't know if this is a selling point for anybody really, but it's a feature of the microphone that I thought I should show you, so here it is. So that's it for our mic testing today. I think we've put all 4 of these mics through their paces. I'm really excited to go see the audio and the footage and put it all together for you guys. And tomorrow I will record kind of my reaction to that and slot it at the end of this video, so you'll see it right up next. But without further ado, let's jump now to tomorrow, where I'll be giving my verdict and decision on which microphone I'll be using going forward. So here I am back, and it's the next day, and I've done most of the editing for this film, so I've listened to all of the microphones quite well, and I've made my decision. But before I tell you what decision I've made, let me first talk about some of the other microphones that didn't quite make the cut. First up, the MXL. I think that in the right situation, the MXL actually produces the best sounding audio. Obviously, the test you just heard in this studio with the MXL didn't sound great. I didn't have a pop filter in front of that mic at that point. Those P's and B sounds are really blowing out the mic, and I think honestly the microphone's a little bit close to me. These are all things that I could rectify, right? But I think if you had that microphone set up and you knew that's where you were always going to record, you didn't have to travel with that microphone, you had it set up in your studio and that was that, I think the MXL would definitely be the mic to go for. But because I travel a lot, it just makes it not ideal for me. And honestly, between the other 3 microphones that we tested, I'm not sure I could tell the difference in like sort of a blind listening test. I was blown away with all of them, genuinely, and I think all of them are perfectly usable microphones. I haven't gone with the Razer, and the reason is that sort of back emoji, sort of LED effect is completely useless to me. I have no use for that whatsoever. It's a feature that I don't need. Interestingly, that Razer microphone probably is the most portable of the other 3 microphones, but it did feel to me like it could potentially crack or damage inside my kit bag, and I was a little bit worried about that. And then finally, that kind of 2-man test that I did with me and Matt when we were sat here, that test didn't work great. I'll be the first to admit that. I probably should have told Matt to get closer to the microphone to project a little bit more. I think the audio was picked up pretty well on me for both tests, but maybe not great for Matt. But I do think that is doable. It's not ideal. Ideally, you'd have a mic for each person so you could edit those audio levels individually. But if you're in a pinch and you need to record that podcast really quickly, having that option is always beneficial, and the Razer doesn't have that option, which is why I didn't pick it. And then honestly, between the Yeti and the Trust microphone, it was a total toss-up, but the reason that I've gone with the Trust microphone is this light setup on top. Again, if I'm in a pinch, if I'm in a rush, I know I can set that microphone, I know exactly where it's trying to pick up that audio from, and I know I can rely on it. The Yeti, again, is also a little bit heavier, so wouldn't fit great in my kit bag. Now, one of the big reservations I had about this microphone was its stand, right? I wasn't able to maneuver that like how I wanted. So actually what I've done is completely cheated, and if I move my laptop here, you'll be able to see that what I've done here is taken the Trust microphone and put it on the Razer stand, so that I'm able to now move this exactly how I want it. For me, that's huge, and my ability to sort of customize this exactly how I want it obviously isn't going to be your experience, unless you go ahead and buy both, which would be ridiculous. Please don't do that. But yeah, this is sort of my perfect setup. Like I said, these tests are as much for me as they were for you. I do hope you found value in this, and hopefully you've seen a microphone that has the features you're looking for. Remember, if you do have any questions about these microphones, please do leave them in the comments down below, and I'll be in there trying to answer as many as I possibly can. And remember to head over to techradar.com for all the latest tech news and reviews.